Hi, welcome to Headline Buster, brought to you by The Point. I'm Wang Guan, sitting in for Liu Xin. In this series, we dissect the stories making headlines around the world and talk to my guests to fill in the missing pieces of the puzzle. So join us in real time by sending us your comments or questions via the CGTN webpage on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, or Weibo. Or if you're watching this live, email us at the CGTN at thepoint with alex@cgtn.com. Let us know what you think. We start our live streaming, as you know, every Friday at 11 a.m. Beijing time. Get in touch and we might just read out your comments. First of all, let's look at some of the viewers' comments from last week when we talk about Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region's new language policy. Facebook user Edwin Lowe said, "Time will tell. Chinese people are conservative. They don't tell the whole world what they're doing." I would agree, and that's why I think some of you guys should be watching our programs more regularly. Twitter user King Hu Wan said, "What's the big deal that Chinese is taught as the main language in China? That is a norm around the globe, just as English is taught as the main language in the USA. If people want to continue teaching other languages, simply open a school for it. I attended Chinese school in USA." All perspectives and comments are welcome. Keep them coming, please. Now, this week, we're going to look at U.S. President Donald Trump's speech at the United Nations General Assembly, which was followed by Chinese President Xi Jinping's address to the General Assembly. The two speeches are being interpreted as the latest sign of rising China-U.S. tensions. But what else is there? Before we go to more details, though, a bit of background. This year marks the 75th anniversary of the founding of the United Nations. It was formed after two devastating world wars in the first half of the last century. Founded in 1945, the UN currently has 193 member states. And it plays a very important role in maintaining international peace and security, delivering humanitarian aid, promoting sustainable development, and upholding international laws. The annual General Assembly is an opportunity for the world's leaders and diplomats to speak about issues that concern the most. Over the years, the General Assembly has heard historic speeches, impassioned arguments and accusations, and also, unfortunately, fictions and outright lies. President Trump has given many speeches this past half year as he prepares for what is shaping up to be a very heated campaign cycle. Trump is known for giving misinformation and unsubstantiated claims that the Washington Post, so much so that the Washington Post's tireless presidential fact-checker team has published a new book entitled Donald Trump and His Assault on Truth. It compiles a staggering total of 16,241 false or misleading claims made during President Trump's first 3 years in office. This is averaging 15 misleading claims per day. 15 per day. Now, on Tuesday, at the United Nations General Assembly, President Trump took his signature style there, and in minutes, the president already exceeded his usual daily average. In the interest of time, here are just some of those claims. Have listened to what the president said.
We have waged a fierce battle against the invisible enemy, the China virus, which has claimed countless lives in 188 countries.
Well, this is misleading. President Trump repeatedly used the term of China virus. It is more than just a reference to the origin of the pandemic. It is also part of his campaign to advance a conspiracy theory about the virus leaking from a lab in Wuhan, intentionally or accidentally. This claim has already been rejected by President Trump's own Director of National Intelligence. "Yes, I have," said President Trump on May 1st, 2020, when asked about whether he has seen evidence to suggest the virus originated in the lab. When later asked for more details, President Trump said, "I cannot tell you that. I'm not allowed to tell you that." Nearly 5 months later, there still has not been a shred of evidence to back up his claim. Now, in his most recent article titled "Trump Lied About Science," published on September 18th, Holden Thorpe, editor-in-chief of Science Journal, says that because famed Washington Post journalist Bob Woodward recorded him, we can hear Trump's own voice saying that he understood precisely that severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2 was deadly and spread through the air. Trump lied, plain and simple. He also noted that monuments in Washington, D.C. have chiseled into them words spoken by real leaders during crises. Confidence, said Franklin Roosevelt, thrives on honesty, on honor, and on sacrifices, on sacredness of obligations, on faithful protection, and on unselfish performance. Trump's first false claim was followed by more false claims about America's pandemic fighting success. We pioneered life-saving treatments, reducing our fatality rate 85% since April, said the president. We don't know the source of this 85% reduction. We wish it were true, but obviously it could be a self-assigned number. The same day, the president was bragging about his leadership at the United Nations. Coronavirus deaths in the United States, unfortunately and tragically, passed the 200,000 mark. In fact, President Trump went on the cover of Time magazine's September edition with the title, "How many more lives will be lost before the U.S. gets it right?" Now, many believe the president perhaps could have shown more sympathy or respect, at least for the life lost during this pandemic. Commenting on the recent wave of police brutality and violent responses to the demonstrations against it, President Trump was quoted as saying that, quote, "When the looting starts, the shooting starts." Compare that to former presidents made during similar incidents in the past. Former U.S. President Barack Obama said that we should care about it. We can't not dismiss it. And George W. Bush said, "I felt anger, I felt pain." Then President Trump began a prolonged attack on China. Listen to this.
As we pursue this bright future, we must hold accountable the nation which unleashed this plague onto the world, China. In the earliest days of the virus, China locked down travel domestically while allowing flights to leave China and infect the world.
Well, this is another conspiracy that has been rejected by many. The comprehensive review by factcheck.org shows this falsehood originating in a column in the Sunday Times on April 5th by historian and author Niall Ferguson, and later rebutted by Daniel Bell, Dean of School of Political Science and Public Administration at Shandong University. Using flight data from the Civil Aviation Administration of China, Bell was able to show that international flights were canceled, along with domestic flights, on January the 23rd, the very day the lockdown on Wuhan was imposed. Now, Ferguson later acknowledged this fact in an update of his own article, but Tuesday was not the first time, nor even the second time President Trump repeated this claim, even though factcheck.org alerted the White House to its findings. No world leader paying attention to their daily briefings on the pandemic would declare the virus a hoax or claim that it, quote, will disappear one day like a miracle. But President Trump said both, even though, as clearly documented in Bob Woodward's new book, Rage, Trump claims he knew the virus was both deadly and serious from the start. So it seems that as well as lying to the United Nations, Trump also lied to the American public. Olivia Troche, former assistant to Vice President Pence and who used to serve on the White House's coronavirus task force, alleges that during one meeting she attended, President Trump said, "Maybe this COVID thing is a good thing. I don't like shaking hands with people. I don't have to shake hands with these disgusting people." Presumably, some of these quote-unquote disgusting people Trump has talked about is the very people he's counting on these days to return him to the White House for another 4 years. Perhaps Trump saw the speech as a chance to make a last-ditch effort to divert attention from his administration's handling of the pandemic by passing the buck for the blame. He certainly believes there are plenty who deserve to be blamed for America's problems. China, the WTO, the Democrats, his predecessors, his opponents, generals, governors, mayors, the press, scientists, medical staff, you name it. Almost everyone, in fact, apart from the very man who has been running America for the last 4 years and responsible, presumably, for keeping it safe and secure. Now, on the same day, Chinese President Xi Jinping also addressed the United Nations General Assembly Hall via video, and observers noted that President Xi struck a very different tone. This is what the Chinese president said.
中国将始终做多边主义的践行者。
China will continue to be a true follower of multilateralism It'll stay actively engaged in reforming and developing the global governance system. It'll firmly uphold the UN-centered international system, firmly uphold the international order underpinned by international law, and firmly defend the UN's central role in international affairs.
核心作用。
Now, in his speech, President Xi addressed the question of how China and the international community should face this period of uncertainty, change, and increased division among nations. He proposed 4 pillars upon which the UN could regain its place in the world. Number 1, justice. Number 2, the rule of law. Number 3, cooperation. And number 4, action. Xi said the world must stand up for the UN as central to global governance. A main focus, of course, is the prevention and control of the COVID-19 pandemic and how to build global solidarity in that regard. Have a listen to this.
面对疫情，我们要加强团结。
Facing the virus, we should enhance solidarity and get this through together. We should follow the guidance of science, give full play to the leading role of the World Health Organization, and launch a joint international response to beat this pandemic. Any attempt of politicizing the issue or stigmatization must be rejected.
Xi promised again that China will make COVID-19 vaccine, when they become available, a global public good, and the developing world will be given priorities to use them. Observers say President Xi and President Trump were talking to different audiences there. President Xi was offering China's solutions to some of the most salient global challenges to the audience of the world, whereas President Trump was mainly talking to his supporters on the state of his campaign. Now, when we come back, we'll be breaking down these speeches and more issues to come. Stay tuned.